Hello Dogs fans, welcome to another episode of After the Dogs Roar for season 2016. Now this episode is for after round 21 and there is 2 rounds to go until the home and away season ends and the finals commence. It is getting to that exciting time of the season where the finals are upon us, and it is just very exciting. However, the next 2 weeks are very important in terms of where we finish on the ladder at the end of round 23. So if you think the last 2 games aren't important, think again. They are massive games. No matter who we're playing, they are 2 massive games coming up. Now, this is what's coming up in this episode of After the Dogs Raw. We have an overview of the round 21 clash v the Pies coming up. That's coming up off the top of the show. Of course, we're getting into my votes for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award from the game v Collingwood. The stats wrap up is coming up. And this is a new segment. Now, this is going to replace the Bevis birding question and the 5 fan questions for the next 3 weeks. It is going to be called Flashback. It's where I'm going to be basically posting a few games on a poll and letting you guys in the forum and girls decide which game I flash back to. So everyone in the forum this week voted that I'd flash back to 2006 Elimination Final v Collingwood at the MCG. Looking forward to flashbacking to that a little bit later. Also going to look towards our VFL clash v Werribee. Of course, Footscray had a bye on the weekend, so nothing to talk about from the weekend in terms of a VFL point of view, but I will have a look at the game v Werribee, how that is important for our VFL campaign, and then I'm going to be finishing off the show with a small preview of the round 21 clash v the Bombers. Okay, time to get into our match v Collingwood. This was our round 21 match. It was a massive game because we're back on the Friday night stage at our home ground of Etihad Stadium, and versing a team who, you know, they would be pretty angry with their loss to Richmond coming into this game, and also they were really competitive against us in round 10 at the MCG. So, however, I thought this game would have been a bit one-sided than what it actually was. It actually turned out to be a very close game. In fact, it turned out to be a tough game for us. Collingwood really took it up to us, and even though we led at quarter time and half time, it was only by small margins, and in fact at 3/4 time scores were level. So in the simple fact is that this game was sort of similar to the round 10 encounter, except the fact that Collingwood were able to stay in it in the last quarter. We know that in round 10, Collingwood basically were, you know, they had no bench, and the Dogs were able to steer away with it in the last quarter. But this was different because Collingwood were able to stick in there in the 4th quarter, and I thought that we were pretty lucky. We did miss a couple of chances at the end, but we were so lucky to get away with the win. We probably didn't play our best football, but then again, the close win just had my heart pumping, and it was probably one of the best wins of the season. There's probably games that are probably at the top of the list than this one, but this was certainly a very exciting win, and lucky in the end, to be honest. The final score: Western Bulldogs 14-11-95 defeated Collingwood 14-8-92. So a 3-point margin there. Collingwood, credit to them, really took it up to us. We're basically sticking in there all night. it was close all night. It was quite low scoring in the first quarter, I thought, but it was really open, and yeah, it was quite a good game. And well, each team got to about 90 odd points, which was pretty good. So the goal kickers, John kicked 2, as well as Dixon, Bontempelli, Hovat, and Cordy. They all had reasonable games, I thought. Dunkley, Stringer, Smith, and Hunter got singles. I thought Stringer, not Smith. Stringer was a bit disappointing on Friday night. I don't know. I kind of think that he's not really hitting the peak that he was at the start of the year, or in fact last year when he was bursting out of the flames, I guess. But yeah, he's not really showing a lot of performance, if you know what I mean. But that's the goal kickers, and then the best players for the Dogs: Bontempelli, Picken, Dalhouse, Jong, Hunter Johannesson, and Matthew Boyd got in the best players. So a game which was played in front of just over 35,000. Well done to the Western Bulldogs faithful for turning up on a Friday night to watch this game. Of course, I'm hoping that our club gets more than 3 games on Friday night next year, because the Friday night stage is probably where every player wants to play on instead of grand final day. So good win there. It was lucky to get a win. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or anything or talk more about it. It was a lucky win. Collingwood took it up to us, but we did well to get the win and win by 3 points. So that was a crucial game we needed to win. We've got 2 very important games coming up next, which I'll talk about a bit later on in this episode. Of course, our round 22 clash. But anyway, let's get into my votes for this game. Okay, time now to have a look at my votes for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest award for round 21 v Collingwood. Of course, we're getting to the back end of the season now, so that leaderboard is vital in terms of getting votes. And just to make it clear, I'll be giving votes right up until our last game of the season. So it doesn't end in round 23, it will end in our last game of the season. So whether that's week 1, week 2, week 3, or even week 4 of the finals, it will end when our last game of the season is. So let's go through my votes. I've given my number one, or my one vote to Luke Dalhouse. I thought he was fantastic, played well, was very influential, and yeah, deserves one vote in my opinion. He got 31 disposals, 16 kicks and 15 handballs. He got a pretty good, reasonable AFL fantasy collection of 112 points. So if you have him in your fantasy team, he would have racked up a few points for you, which is very good from a dream team point of view. The 2 votes I've given to Josh Dunkley. I thought he was impressive on Friday night. Of course, last week got the Rising Star nominee for round 20. Fantastic, well done to him. And yeah, he just proved why he should be a nominee this week as well as last week. It was fantastic. He kicked a goal. He got 2 behinds. He probably should have had 3 goals in the end. 18 disposals. He got 9 kicks, 9 handballs. Got a 109 fantasy points. I just thought he just did the 1% as well, and I thought that he just collected the ball very well and it was pretty much influential in the game. So well done to Josh Dunkley. He gets my 2 votes. And then my 3 votes, geez, I don't know how many 3 votes I've given this bloke in the second half of the season. I've given probably more 3 votes to him than Lachie Hunter in the second half of the season, and more than any other player, to be honest. And that's Marcus Bontempelli. 2 goals on the weekend. He just keeps performing in this second half of the season. He was a bit quiet in the first half. I think we can all agree on that. But geez, the second half has been lightning. He's been really good. He's been kicking about a goal every game at least, and he's been racking up the disposals, racking up all the major stats to give himself a very healthy, AFL fantasy collection of total points, and he's just been fantastic and influential for our team. So he's having a lightning second half of the season, and who knows, when we get in the finals, he might even step it up a gear if he even isn't at the top of his gear, because he's just performing really well in this second half of the season. So well done to him. 3 votes for me in this week's votes for the After Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award. Let's get on to the stats wrap up for after round 21. Okay, all you dog fans, time to get into the stats wrap-up for after round 21. Let's start with the leading goal kickers, as I normally do. Jake Stringer still holds the lead, even though he wasn't quite good on Friday night. but he leads pretty comfortably, and you would think that he will probably take out the leading goal kicker award at the Dogs for this year. He's on 37. Tory Dixon second on 24. Marcus Bontempelli on 22 and third. Jack Redpath has fell to fourth. You would expect that considering he hasn't been playing because of injury. He's on 20. And Tom Liberatore is way back with 13 goals on fifth. We have the leading disposals. Lockie Hunter leads the disposals on 581. Like he has been for a very long time now. Matthew Boyd in second on 492 disposals. This is interesting. Equal third. This is the first time it's happened this year in terms of the stats wrap up here on After the Dogs Roar, that two players have been equal third in the equal amount of disposals. So Jack McRae, Marcus Bontempelli is equal third on 486 disposals, and then Liam Picken is fifth on 440 disposals, so that's quite incredible. The leading marks, Matthew Boyd leads the marks on 130. Lockie Hunter, though, just up his neck a little bit on 125 in second. Easton Wood a bit far back on 99, not too far back, but 26 marks back is quite a lot in the leading marks. Shane Biggs on fourth on 91, and then Dale Morris, Liam Picken equal fifth on 90. And then finally the leading tackles. Marcus Bontempelli leads the tackles on 91. Tom Liberatore second on 92. You then have Jack McRae on 86 tackles. Liam Picken on 81 tackles in fourth. And then Luke Dalehouse is there in fifth on 78 tackles. So that is the stats wrap up for after round 21. We'll finish off the stats wrap up with the ladder. And currently we sit 7th on 56 points level with the West Coast Eagles and GWS Giants. Of course, both those two teams played out a classic on Saturday at Spotless Stadium. Obviously Geelong could have lost to Richmond, but they just stormed home in the fourth quarter. So yeah, they have moved into the top four there. It's very vital that we win our last two. Of course, Geelong, they have they have Brisbane and Melbourne in their last two. GWS have Fremantle next, and then North Melbourne in their last two. The West Coast Eagles have Hawthorn next week. I can sense that Hawthorn can beat the West Coast Eagles at Domain Stadium, but who knows how that's going to play out. And then they've got Adelaide. So the West Coast Eagles could potentially lose their last two, because those two teams, Hawthorn and Adelaide, are pretty good, and obviously North Melbourne has a tough task as well, but they shouldn't get anywhere near us in the last two rounds. I saw something that someone was tipping, I can't remember who it was, but someone was tipping us to be in 5th spot. I did it in the mid-season review, tip us to be 5th. I think we can still get there. Of course, we're not that far behind. Obviously, we're level on points with the Eagles and Giants, and then we're not far behind top four, to be quite honest, of course. But they've got the top four has got relatively good games in the run home, so it's going to be hard to break into the top four, in my opinion. I don't think we'll get there, but I think we could possibly finish 5th. 5th or 6th is obviously the aim, because then obviously we get to stay in Melbourne and play that home final. When I mean home final, I just mean home final in Melbourne, whether it's at the MCG, which is likely to be the case, or Etihad, who knows. But it would be good if we could just get that 5th or 6th place and yeah, get that home final, as I mentioned. So 2 crucial games coming up, Essendon and Fremantle. Fremantle's not going to be easy at Domain Stadium. I know that they've had troubles this year, but you know what happened last year when we went to the Gabba? Got beaten by Brisbane in the last round. Probably cost us a little bit. So hopefully that does not happen again this year. Crucial 2 games coming up. Okay, Dogs fans, time now to bring in a new segment for the next 3 episodes. It's called Flashback. It's where I'm going to flash back to a old piece of history, an old game, review it, talk about it, and just flash back to it. It's simple as that. Now, this segment will replace the Bevis burning question and the 5 fan questions for the next 3 weeks. So if you like those segments, then sorry, you won't see them. Those 2 segments for the next 3 weeks. It's just hard to fit in, especially the 5 fan questions. And then this, it's hard to fit that in, and because the episode will just be going over half an hour, which is something I don't want happening. I want to keep this this show to just under half an hour, and so by cutting those 2 segments for just the next 3 weeks, I'll be able to bring in this segment and still keep the show to under half an hour. Now, here how this segment is going to work. It's all about flashing back to old history and old Western Bulldog games, and it's going to be decided by the Western Bulldogs forum. So you beautiful Western Bulldog supporters in the Western Bulldogs forum will decide what game I do each and every week, basically how it works. Basically, on the weekend for this game, I basically posted for everyone to comment their favourite game down below from the years 2005, between the years 2005 and 2015. It won't be those years every week, of course, it'll be different years. I just do that just to, just because it's fun. And then we had people comment down below their favourite games, and then what I did is I put them into a poll, and then people selected which game they would prefer, and the poll ended at a certain time, and then I was able to basically see which game got the highest votes. So the games that were in selection this week was the 2006 Elimination Final v Collingwood, the 2015 game v the Sydney Swans, the home and away game where we basically re-erected ourselves as final contenders that year. We beat the Swans, upset them hugely, no one gave us a chance, so that was a fantastic moment. That was one of the other games. There was also the 2005 game v Collingwood. It was the last round 22 of the 2005 AFL season, and Etihad, or Telstra Dome as it was called back then. It was very high scoring, that game. And then the last game was, what was the last game? Oh, the Daniel Cross's last game for the Western Bulldogs in 2013. That was also another choice. A lot of people voted for the 2006 Elimination Final, so that won the poll vote. Wasn't far behind that game against the Swans. In fact, I thought it was going to win it at one stage, but it didn't. And I get to review this game, a game that I probably forgot about up until this moment, and so I had to go through the replay, of course, and research and make sure I know what I'm talking about. So let's get straight in now to the first flashback. So today we're flashing back to Sunday the 10th of September 2006. It was at 2:30 p.m. The Western Bulldogs took on Collingwood in an elimination final at the MCG. We actually finished 8th that year, so we were versing 5th place Collingwood in front of over 84,000 people. Absolutely remarkable crowd, and you would expect that sort of a crowd for an elimination final between two Victorian sides. So this was a massive game, of course. It was a while since we actually won a final. It was a long time ago going into this game. I'll talk about that more at the end of the flashback, about when our last finals win actually was. But in the meantime, let's get straight into flashbacking into this game. And well, the first quarter just started off. It was a heated start, really. Brodie Holland for Collingwood came in and cleaned up Brent Montgomery in the first 2 seconds of the game. It was incredible, but there wasn't time to melee because the umpires moved on play, and players were able to get on with it. He was actually on the ground for a fair while, probably a minute at least, but he actually remarkably got up and got revenge. He kicked the first goal of the game. Absolutely incredible. It was a pretty hard hit, and could have been one of those hits that, if you look at it these days, it could have been a concussion sort of hit. But of course, back in those days, we know concussion probably wasn't as big as it is now. But he played on, he carried on, he kicked the first goal of the game. We actually kicked another one after that, so we kicked the first 2 goals of the game. But remarkably, the Pies kicked the next 5 after we kicked the first 2, and they just hit off the blocks and kicked the next 5, and this was all halfway. This all happened in the first half of the first quarter. So yeah, we're in a bit of trouble early on, but Adam Cooney, blonde hair back in those days, he was able to kick a goal back and finally kick our third goal of the game, which was good from our point of view. We then got one more before the quarter time break, and lucky we're only just within 10 points of Collingwood at the quarter time break. Pies led by 10 points. In the second quarter, it was, for especially the first half of this quarter, it was just up and down, each forward 50, pressure everywhere, tackles. There was no one scoring goals. It was quite a intensive, I guess you could say, intensity type part of the quarter where it was just going up and down. There was no goals, there was no real scores, there was some behinds, but there was no real scores. And then finally, halfway through the second term, Cooney bagged his second goal, the first goal of the term, and we were within 4 points. And then Robbins, he was able to kick a probing kick from, I think it was just inside 50, and it put us in front for the first time since the first term, which was remarkable. But however, Rocker moments later was able to put Collingwood back in front. But then before the end of the quarter, Montgomery was able to kick 2 goals to give us a 10-point lead at half-time. So we're going in half-time with the lead. We had a bit of momentum. Montgomery was starring. He kicked 3 goals in the first half, which was very good considering that he got cleaned up in the first seconds of the game. He was it must have done something to him, because he was just playing so well in that first half. The third quarter was quite different. We really came out and just knocked Collingwood off. We kicked 6-3 to Collingwood 0-4. We kept Collingwood goalless in the third quarter. We dominated them in the third quarter, and then we didn't really have to do much in the fourth quarter other than just keep our lead. And we did just that. We won by 41 points this game. The final score, Collingwood 11-14-80, defeated by our mob, the Western Bulldogs, 18-13, 121. The goal kickers, I talked about Montgomery. He kicked 3 in the first half. He ended up kicking 4 for the whole entire game. Robbins had a good game, as well as Cooney. They both kicked 3. Gilby and Farron Ray, who used to play for us back then, kicked 2 each. And then Jericusa, Johnson, Minson and Rowan Smith kicked singles each to add themselves to the score sheet. So a remarkable game, a remarkable performance by us in the second half. We really just took the game away from Collingwood. It was all done and dusted at 3/4 time, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, it was a good win from us. We won by 41 points, and remarkably, this was actually our first finals win since 1998. Can you believe it? We basically, we hadn't won a final since 1998, so we broke that drought, and this was a game to remember, this elimination final. Unfortunately, we went on the next week, versed West Coast Eagles and lost, but I tell you what, you could say that this elimination final was quite special. Okay, time now to get into our VFL clash. Footscray Bulldogs are travelling to Avalon Airport Oval to take on Werribee on Sunday the 21st of August, starting at 12 p.m. I'm just wondering, I'm not sure about this fixturing. Would everyone be able to, or would people be able to go to the reserves game and then get back in time for the game via the Bombers? I'm not quite sure. I'm of course from Tasmania, so I don't really know a lot about the outer suburbs from outside Melbourne, but I know Avalon Airport is quite a good fair away from Melbourne. In fact, I think it's probably just about an hour if I'm correct. So could you get back in time? I'm not sure if you could get back in time for the game against the Bombers. I don't know, maybe you people in the forum or anyone else watching this can tell me about that, because I'd be interested to find out, because you would have thought they would have that. But anyway, you can't always have your fixturing the way you want it. But anyway, crucial game for us, of course. This is our last game of the season in the VFL before finals. Werribee is quite outside the top 8. I don't think they're going to make the finals now, and this is a chance for us to just try and get a little bit higher up the ladder. We're 6th at the moment, possibly 5th. Never quite know, but it's a crucial game coming up. Of course, we've been battling on and been getting those close ones in the last couple of weeks, but a couple of weeks ago against Williamstown, that was a great win. So our VFL side really going into good form. The bye might have helped to refresh the players, ready for this game, and then of course 4 weeks of finals, hopefully, you would hope. So interesting game coming up, an interesting VFL clash v Werribee coming up on Sunday. And time now to get into our second last clash of the home and away season. It is up against the Bombers. We haven't versed the Bombers yet, and I guess you could say this is a chance to boost our percentage. But you know, that was said about Geelong a couple of weeks ago, and well, they couldn't quite get that percentage that they wanted. But they're coming off a good win, Essendon. I didn't expect them to do what they did on Sunday, and that was beat the Gold Coast Suns at their home ground of Etihad Stadium. So that was good by them. But look, I know I said last week that we would win by about 40-odd points, and we didn't. But you would expect us to win by at least 40-odd points in this game. You know, Essendon, you know, we know how much they've been struggling this year with the suspended players. And I'd be expecting to get a big win, to be honest. Maybe not 100 points, although that would be great. but you'd be expecting a big win against the Bombers. But yeah, we need to be on our game though, because the Bombers will give 100%. So this game, Sunday the 21st of August, 4:40 PM at Etihad Stadium. You can watch it live on Fox Footy. It's our first Twilight game of the year, actually, and in fact our last two of the season are Twilight games. So we got all those Twilight games last year, and now we haven't got any, and this is our first one of the season. So it's quite good from my point of view, because I'm not really a big fan of the Sunday Twilight games, but they aren't too bad, I suppose. Just quickly on the games, we actually won the last one pretty comfortably, 127-40. That was round 18 last year. However, Essendon have won 4 of the last 5 against us. So besides that round 18 clash in 2015, they've been pretty dominant against us in the last 4 outings before then. So not that that might mean anything, because we should be able to win this, but just a bit of a fact. So looking forward to this game, a chance to hopefully try and claim that better spot in the top 8. And that is it for this episode of After the Dogs Roar. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back with another episode next week. Until then, enjoy the game against the Bombers. Have a good weekend. I'm Jacob. Go Dogs.